Chapter 12. I feel childish as I look at his rolled-up white cuffs, one of which now contains my DNA. He's glowering at his computer screen and has not spoken a word to me in hours. I've royally fucked up. "I'll dry clean your shirt," I offer, but he doesn't acknowledge me. "I'll buy you a new one." "I'm so sorry, Josh." He cuts me off. "Did you think it'd all be different today?" I feel a lump begin to squeeze in my throat. "I'd hoped so. Don't be mad." I'm not mad. His neck is red against his white collar. "I'm trying to tell you I'm sorry, and I wanted to say thank you for everything you did for me." "And are those pretty daisies for me, then?" I remember. This might fix everything. Wait. I did get you a present. I pull the little plastic cube topped with the red bow from my purse. I present it to him like a boxed Rolex. His eyes spark with an unidentified emotion before he reassumes his frown. "Strawberries. You said how much you love them." The word love has probably never been said in this office, and it gives my voice a weird little tremor. He looks at me sharply. "I'm surprised you remember anything at all." He puts the strawberries into his out tray and logs back onto his computer. After several more minutes of silence, I try again. "How can I pay you back for everything?" The balance has shifted dramatically between us. I'm in his debt now. I owe him. "Tell me what I can do. I will do anything. What I want to say is, speak to me, engage with me. I can't fix anything if you ignore me." I watch him continue to type, his face expressionless as a crash test dummy. Stacks of sales figures are to his right, and he slashes a green highlighter across them. Meanwhile, I am at complete loose ends with no Elaine. "I'll clean your apartment for you. I'll be your slave for a day. I'll bake you a cake." It's like a soundproof pane has dropped in between us. Or maybe I've been erased. I should let him do his work in silence, but I can't stop talking. He can't hear me anyway, so it won't matter if I say this next thing out loud. "I'll go with you to the wedding." Be quiet, Lucinda. So he can hear me. "I'll be your designated driver. You can get drunk. You can get so drunk and you'll have the best time. I'll be your chauffeur." He picks up his calculator and begins to tap. I persevere. "I'll drive you home and put you to bed like you did for me. You can vomit into Tupperware and I'll rinse it. Then we'll be even." He rests his fingertips on his keyboard and closes his eyes. He seems to be reciting a string of obscenities in his mind. "You don't even know where the wedding is." "Unless it's in North Korea, I'll go." "When is it?" "This Saturday." "I'm free. It's settled. Give me your address and I'll pick you up and everything. Name the time." Pretty presumptuous of you to assume I won't have a date. I nearly open my mouth to retort that I know for a fact I'm his +1. Just in time, my cell phone rings. Danny. I swivel my chair a full 180 degrees. Hasn't he ever heard of texting? "Hi, Lucy. Feeling any better? Are we still on for dinner?" I drop my voice to a whisper. "I'm not sure. I have to go pick up my car, and I've been feeling pretty shitty." "I've heard so much about this car of yours. I think it's silver. That's as much as I can remember of it. I've booked a table for 7 tonight. Benito Brothers. You said you like it?" There's not much choice left then. It's hard to get a reservation there. I try not to sigh. Benito Brothers is good. Thanks. I won't have a huge appetite, but I'll do my best. I'll meet you there. See you tonight. I hang up and sit facing the wall for a bit. Danny Fletcher has a cliched evening in store for you. Italian restaurant, checkered tablecloth, probably a candle. He'll push the last meatball to you with his nose. Second date, right? Let's change the subject. I pretend to start typing. My screen fills with error messages. Most guys would try for a kiss on the second date. That stops me in my tracks. And the look in my eye is probably crazy. The idea of Joshua making an effort on a second date is inconceivable. Joshua on a date, period. I imagine Josh, seated across from a beautiful woman, laughing and smiling. The same smile he once gave me. His eyes lit up, anticipating a goodnight kiss. I've got a dark ball of pressure burning in my chest. I try to clear my throat, but it doesn't work. I'm not the only one looking a little crazy. Just say it. You look like you're about to explode. Do yourself a favor and stay home tonight. You look terrible. Thank you, Dr. Josh. Why does Fat Little Dick call you that anyway? Because my parents and brother are doctors. It's his way of reminding me I've failed to reach my potential. His tone indicates I am the town's simpleton, and he gets to his feet. I trail after him down the hall toward the copy room. He doesn't slow, so I grab him by the arm. Wait a minute. I'm trying to fix this. You're right, you know. I did come in here today hoping these last days together might be different. He opens his mouth, but I steamroll ahead. He's letting me hold him against the wall, but we both know he could pick me up like a chess piece if he wanted to. Some heeled shoes are clopping toward us as sedately as a Clydesdale, and my frustration mounts. I need to clear this up, now, or I'm going to have an aneurysm. The cleaner's closet will have to do. It's thankfully unlocked, and I walk in and stand among the chemicals and vacuum cleaners. Get in here. He obeys, reluctantly, and I pull the door shut and lean on it. We remain silent as the heels round the corner and continue past. This is cozy. Josh kicks his toe against a bulk quantity of toilet paper. Well, what? I've screwed up. I know I have. There's nothing to screw up. You've pissed me off. The status quo is maintained. He leans an elbow on a shelf to drag his hand tiredly through his hair, and his shirt slides up an inch or so out of his trouser waistband. We're so close I can hear the fabric stretch and slide over his skin. I thought maybe the war might be over. I thought we might be friends. His eyes flash with disgust, so I might as well put it all out there. Josh, I want to be friends with you. Or something. I have no idea why, because you're awful. He holds up a finger. There's an interesting couple of words in among what you just said. I say a lot of interesting words, and you never hear any of them. I ball my hands until the knuckles crack, and the realization hits me across the head. The reason for my rising distress is this. I will never see his hidden softness again. I think of his hands braced on either side of my pillow, talking me through the fever. His hands passing easily over my skin. Right now, he looks like he'd burn me at the stake. He was my friend once, for one delirious night, and it's all I'll ever get. Or something. He uses his fingers to add quotations. You said you wanted to be friends or something. What exactly does or something entail? I want to know my options. It probably entails not completely hating each other. I don't know. I try to sit on a stack of boxes and they crush underneath me, so I stand back up. So, what is he? Your boyfriend? He has hands on hips, and the small room shrinks to microscopic. He's close to me now. Whatever divine soap Josh uses, I need some. I'll keep a bar of it in my top drawer to scent my lingerie. I feel my cheeks beginning to heat. You couldn't care less if I date Danny. You can't believe any guy would want to be with me. Instead of replying, he holds out his hand, palm up. His shirt sleeves are still rolled, and I look at the strong tendons and cords in his wrists. I notice, for the first time, he has those muscly guy raised veins in his inner arms. Touching at work is against HR policy. My throat is bone dry. Not touching me should be illegal. He stares expectantly at me until I slide my hand into his. It's hard to resist someone holding out his hand this way, and it's completely impossible if it's Joshua. I register the heat and size of his fingers before he turns over my hand to inspect the scratch on my palm, handling my hand like an injured dove. Seriously, though, did you clean this? Rose thorns can have fungus on them. The scratch can get infected. He presses around the wound, fussing and frowning. How can he be these two different men? A second realization hits me. Perhaps I am a determining factor. The concept is scary. The only way I can get him to drop his guard is to drop mine. Maybe I can change everything. Josh? When he hears me shorten his name, he folds up my fingers and gives me my hand back. It's time to try this. I pray I'm not wrong. I wanted you there on Friday night. You and only you. And if you don't want to be friends with me, I'll try to play the or something game with you. There's a long pause and he doesn't react. If I've misjudged this, I will never live it down. My heart is pulsing uncomfortably fast. Really? He is skeptical. I push him against the door and feel a thrill when I hear the thud of his weight against it. Kiss me. I whisper it, and the air gets warmer. So, the or something game involves kissing. How interesting, Lucinda. He passes his fingers through my hair, raking it gently away from my face. I don't know the rules yet. It's a pretty new game. Are you sure about that? He looks down to watch my hand spread out over his stomach. I push at the hard flesh. It doesn't remotely give. Are you wearing a bulletproof vest? I've got to in this office. I really am sorry for hurting your feelings and for throwing you out of my apartment. Josh. When I use his shortened name, it's a little peace offering. It's an apology. Frankly, it's a pleasure. It lets me imagine he's my friend. My friend who lets me run my palms up his torso in a cleaner's closet. I wish he'd run his hands up mine. Apology accepted. But you can't expect me to be a nice guy when another man walks you into the office and kisses you and gives you flowers. It's not the way this game works between you and me. I have never had the faintest clue on how it works. I swallow heavily. He touches his fingers underneath my chin, raising my face to his. I thought you were so clever, Lucinda. I must be wrong. I rise on tiptoes, and when my hands slide onto his shoulders and grip. When I press my fingernails into him, his throat constricts in a swallow, and I manage to land one glancing, open-mouthed kiss across it. I can feel the effect it has. His hands flex, his hips tilt toward me. Something heavy presses into my stomach. This is the best game I've ever played in my entire life. His hand settles on my lower back, and I arch against him and manage to get one hand on the nape of his neck. Is there any reason we're not kissing yet? The height difference, mainly. He's trying to conceal the fact he's got an erection hard enough to dent a tin can. It's an impossible task. I smile and try to tug him down to my mouth. Well, don't make me climb up there. His mouth belongs on mine, but he doesn't move down farther. His face tightens with indecision and restrained lust. I imagine he's mulling over the work implications. We're barely working together for another 2 weeks, so what does it matter? I congratulate myself on my casual tone. What a romantic proposition. His tongue emerges and licks the corner of his mouth. He wants to. It's obvious he does. But yet he still resists. Put your hands on me. Instead of grabbing me, he puts out his hands, offering them to me like I just did to him. Then he just stands there. His chest rises and falls. Put them on yourself. Nothing ever goes the way I expect it will. I take one of his hands and lay it on my side. The other, I decide to slide around to my butt. Both squeeze me, but they don't move. Basically, I'm feeling myself up, hardly aided by him at all. Is this to get around the HR rules? No more HR threats. It's a complete waste of breath at this point. Saying it is a waste of my breath. I need all the oxygen I can get. The heat of his hands on me burns through my clothes. I push his hand down to where my butt meets thigh. He has to bend down a lot, and it gets his mouth much closer. Now I pull his other hand up from my ribs to the side of my breast. He looks like he's about to pass out. My ego is nearly too big to fit in this room. So, this is what sex with you would be like. I can't resist teasing him. I was hoping you'd participate a little more. He finally says something. I'd participate. So well you wouldn't walk straight the next day. More footsteps pass. I'm in a room smaller than a jail cell, and Josh has his hands on me. Too bold for my own good, I lift his hand and press his fingertips into my cleavage just to see what happens. That's okay. Walking is overrated. Whatever control he has on himself slips significantly, and his hand regains its autonomy. He puts a hand under my knee to lift my leg. His fingertips stroke up under the hem of my dress, making a smooth line up my outer thigh to the side of my underwear. His fingertip touches the elastic and I shiver. Between my breasts, his fingertips dip and stroke. Then he puts my foot back on the ground and both his hands in his pockets. I want you to do something for me. I want you to have your cute little date with Danny, and I want you to kiss him. Even as he says it, his mouth twists in distaste. I drop back down to my regular height. We've said some fucking unbelievable things to each other recently, but that was completely out of left field. What? Why? I drop my hands from his shoulders. The sinking feeling has started. He's been messing with me all along. He sees the alarm in my eyes and halts my retreat with a hand on my elbow. If it's better than our elevator kiss, case closed. Date him. Plan a spring wedding in a gazebo at Sky Diamond Strawberries. I begin to protest, but he cuts me off. If it isn't as good, you have to admit it to me. To my face. Verbally, honestly, with no sarcasm. Every loophole is neatly closed. It's weird you want me to. I take a step back and knock over a broom. The or something game doesn't resume until you tell me that no one kisses you like I do. Can I just tell you now? I tiptoe up again, but he won't have a bar of it. No way am I going to be your little experiment before you choose Mr. Nice Guy. So yes, I want you to kiss Danny Fletcher tonight and report back on the result. If it goes great, then good luck to you. You certainly are biased against nice guys. He adds one more caveat. One last thing. If kissing him isn't as good as kissing me, you can't kiss him again. He opens the door and pushes me out. Mr. Bexley is clomping along sullenly, so I pulled the door shut quickly behind me. He does a double take when he sees me come out of the janitor's closet. I was looking for some glass cleaner. There are fingerprints all over the office. Have you seen Josh? He's not anywhere. Everything's falling apart and he's gone. He's gone to get you coffee and donuts. You've been so busy. Promise you'll act surprised. Mr. Bexley perks up, puffs, and grumbles all in one guttural sound. Then he looks at my dress and its contents with such a leisurely perusal, I put my hands on my hips in annoyance. He doesn't notice. You're looking a little flustered, Miss Hutton. I don't mind a young lady looking a bit pink in the cheeks. You should smile more, though. Oops, my phone is ringing, I say, even though it isn't. Remember, act surprised when Josh gets back. I can be surprised, he tells me, and heads to the men's bathrooms. He's got a newspaper in one hand. Josh can take a leisurely meander downstairs now. I keep my composure until I get back to my desk, but then I let myself do what I've desperately needed to. I pant for air. I huff like I've run a half marathon. Sweat is beading on the back of my neck and my face is dewy. My fingers are burning hot from touching the cotton covering his skin. I fog up half the shiny surfaces of the 10th floor before I am composed enough to even sit. I'm so turned on, I wish I could knock myself unconscious until it passes. Joshua returns 20 minutes later, bearing donuts and coffee. He still beats Mr. Bexley back from the bathroom. Nice save, Joshua tells me, putting a hot chocolate and a strawberry donut beside my mouse pad. Impressive thinking on your feet. I stare at the gorgeous pink donut like we've fallen through a wormhole while he disappears into his boss's office. In the space of 20 minutes, self-doubt has begun to erode my confidence that I can handle the or something game. He's too big, too clever, and my body likes him way too much. I'm desperate to try to lay some kind of ground rules. When he sits at his desk and sips his coffee, it all comes out in a vulgar blurt. If the or something game involves sex, it'll be a one-time deal. Once. One meaningless time only. I clap my hand over my mouth. He narrows an eye cynically and begins eating the strawberries I gave him. It's mesmerizing. I never see him eat anything. 1. I hold up one finger. Just once? You're sure? Would you at least buy me dinner first? He leans back in his chair, enjoying this exchange. He bites, chews, swallows, and I have to look away because, frankly, it's sexy as hell. Sure, we can hit the drive-thru for a Happy Meal. Gee, thanks. A burger meal and toy before we went and did it. Once. He sips at his coffee and looks at the ceiling. Couldn't you at least spring for a fancy Italian restaurant? Or do you want me feeling cheap? Once. I put several knuckles into my mouth and bite them until it hurts. Shut your mouth, Lucy. Can you define what one time would involve? He rests his chin on his palm and closes his eyes, yawning. You'd think we were talking about a work presentation, not a naked, dirty game in my bed. Did your parents never give you the birds and bees talk? I sip my hot chocolate. I'm trying to understand the rules up front. You make up an awful lot as you go along. Could you email them to me? Mr. Bexley walks between us, breaking the moment, and makes an unconvincing sound of surprise when he sees his coffee and donuts on his desk. I'll be in 1 minute, Joshua calls to him. To me, he says, Once, huh? You'd restrain yourself? I see the edge of his mouth lift in a little smile, and he begins to click on his computer screen. Don't look so self-satisfied, I hiss as quietly as I can. It's not a guarantee it'll ever happen. Don't act like it's only me who wants this. This isn't some favor you'd be doing me. It's the pretty big favor you'd be doing yourself. He doesn't seem to be making a sleazy reference to what lies beneath his zipper, but I look there anyway. I can't seem to stop talking. To kill off this weird sexual tension between us, then yes, it would be only once. Like I said, what does it matter? He blinks hard, opens his mouth to speak, then seems to reconsider. For a guy who's just been told by a woman she's considering having sex with him, he looks a little disappointed. Then I guess I'd better make it count, shortcake. A promise and a warning. I bite my donut nearly in half so I don't have to reply. I got the upper hand, defining the terms a little. He stands and picks up his coffee. It's a signal of retreat. But then he slams the tennis ball back into my court, forcing the decision back onto me so squarely, I have to admit, I'm impressed. He writes something on a blue Post-it note. His spiky black letters swoop and slash, ink spreading a little into the veins of paper. He writes down something I never dreamed I'd ever know. I have no idea if it's for the purpose of picking him up before the wedding or something. I can't ask, because my mouth is so full. He sticks it onto my computer screen. His home address. Chapter 13. I keep half expecting your big brother to storm in here any moment and haul you off. You're out on a school night and all, Danny says as I slush my spoon half-heartedly in lemon gelato. I'm sure he's idling his car out front, ready to run you over. It only comes out half like a joke. The waitress comes to check on us. Again, we reassure her of how delicious everything is. Everything's flippin' perfect. Check tablecloth and candles. Romantic music and me cleaned up nicely in a red dress and lipstick. The only thing keeping me from dozing off is the little sharp, nervous feeling in my stomach when I think of the near-inevitable kiss tonight. I need to ask, are you single, available? I'm getting a vibe. You and he aren't. Yes, no vibe. Absolutely no vibe. I'm single. Then I repeat it a couple more times. Danny's expression is doubtful. The lady doth protest way, way too much. A slice of panic opens in my gut. If anyone suspected me and Josh of being involved in any way, there'd be repercussions. Reputation-wise. HR-wise. Dignity-wise. I remember the amused looks and nudges at the post-paintball meeting and cringe to think the horse may have bolted. There's been heaps of office hookups. Samantha and Glenn. Phew, that was a disaster. Danny grins. He's a gossip, I can tell. He raises his eyebrows, hoping I'll have my own juicy scandal to share, but I shake my head. No one talks to me at work. They think I'll snitch. Is it true Josh completed first-year medical school? I don't know. His parents and brother are doctors, though. We always lived in hope he'd quit Bexley Books and go be a proctologist or whatever. I have to laugh. So, did you have a bad breakup in the past or something? Danny looks genuinely curious. I guess I'm trying to work out why you're single. I haven't had any time to date, and I haven't put in enough effort to make new friends after losing touch with people from Gamin after the merger. My job has taken over my life. Working for a CEO isn't your typical 9-to-5. So, what was that rose on your desk? He raises his eyebrows expectantly. It was a joke. He waits for me to elaborate, but when I don't, he gives up and changes the subject. Did you get your application in for the new exec position? It's in. Interviews are next week. Is there a big field? The shortlist for interviews is just me, a couple of externals, and my good buddy Joshua Templeman. 4 applicants in total. You've been waiting a long time for this, Danny surmises. Maybe I've got my crazy intense eyes on again. Elaine has been big on developing me. When we were Gamin Publishing, I was earmarked to transfer into the editorial team after a year of working for her. I hear how bitter my voice is. Danny considers. It's not uncommon to get into publishing any way you can, even if it means taking an admin role. Half the people here didn't start out in their dream job. It was smart to jump on any opening you could. No, that's not my issue. I really am glad I've moved into a business role. But then the merger happened. Yes, so many people lost jobs. I was lucky to keep mine. Even if it's meant staying in the same role. I lost my best friend. I make it sound like she's dead now. Chief of Operations will look pretty impressive on your CV, especially at your age. Yes, I breathe, imagining it in Arial font. Then I imagine it on Joshua's CV, and the delicious daydream turns sour. I'm preparing a presentation for the interview. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time. I haven't been in the position to be as influential as I'd like. The timing's always been off. I want to set up a formal project to get the backlist into ebook format. Repackaging the whole book, covers, the works. I think getting this new role will give me the leverage I've been lacking. Sounds like you'll be needing lots of support in terms of cover design. Keep me in mind. Danny says. He rummages in his pocket and gives me his new business card. A lady at the next table looks at him sideways like, what a douche. He signals for the check and hands over his credit card. Oh, thank you, I squeak awkwardly, and he smiles. We walk to my car. Sorry I talk so much about work. It's no problem. I used to work there, remember? So, this is it. Your car. Danny stops, frames his hands around the car. It's incredible. Isn't she? I lean on the door. Free at last, free at last. Did you just quote Martin Luther King Jr. in relation to your car? Yes, I guess I did. He bursts out laughing. Man, you're awesome. I'm an idiot. Don't say that. I'd like to kiss you. Please. He adds courteously. Okay. We lock eyes. We both know this is it. The moment of truth. Either Danny blows my mind, or I have to pump up Josh's ego. We look like a pretty little Valentine's card. The road is slicked with rain. A streetlight rings us in white. My red party dress is the focal point, and a man with the angelic white blonde curls is bending me back a little, his pale blue eyes dropping to look at my mouth. His height means we clinch together perfectly. His breath is light and sweet from his dessert, and his hands spread respectfully at my waist. When his lips touch mine, I implore myself to feel something. I wish on every single shooting star overhead. I pray for the first dizzying kick of lust. I kiss Danny Fletcher again and again until I realize lust is never coming. His mouth tips mine open a little, although he keeps his tongue in his mouth like the gentleman he is. I put my hand on his shoulder. His frame, which looked so fit and muscular at first glance, feels as light and insubstantial as chicken bones. I bet he couldn't even lift me off the ground. We both pull back. Well, my hopes are absolutely dashed, and I think he knows it. He studies my face. It was like kissing a cousin. All wrong. I want to do it again, to be sure, and when I move forward, he takes a half step back and drops his hands from me. I enjoy spending time with you, he begins. You're a great girl. I finish his sentence for him. Can we just be friends, though? I'm sorry. His face shows disappointment that he didn't get to say it first, relief, and a little slice of irritation that makes me like him less. Sure. Of course. We're friends. I take my car key out. Well, thanks for dinner. Good night. I watch him walk away, his hand raised in farewell. He flips his car keys into his palm, his stride a little slow. An expensive meal exchanged for a bad kiss. Well, you win the kiss competition, Joshua Templeman. I was afraid you would. A tiny thundercloud is brewing inside me. This was a limp, dull waste of an evening. But the worst part, if Joshua did not exist, it would have been a fine date by my standards. Perfectly agreeable. I've had worse dates and far worse kisses. Even though the chemistry wasn't ideal, we could have built on it. The only opportunity I've had in recent memory, and it was ruined. It was like Joshua was sitting at a third chair at our romantic little table, watching, judging, reminding me of all the things I was missing. When I looked at Danny's mouth, I begged myself to feel something. When the streets get too unfamiliar, I pull over and spend countless minutes battling with my GPS settings, my clumsy fingers pressing all the wrong buttons, a blue square of paper between my teeth. I call the GPS woman the worst names I can think of. I beg her to stop, but she doesn't. Like a total bitch, she directs me to Josh's apartment building. I'm definitely not going into his building. I'm not totally pathetic. I park on a side street and look up at the building, wondering which glowing square represents him. Josh, why have you ruined me? My phone buzzes. It's a name I've barely ever seen on my screen. Joshua Templeman. Well, suspense, etc. I lock my car and pull my coat tighter as I walk. I try to think of how to reply. I've got nothing, frankly. My pride is ridiculously wounded. I should have tried harder tonight, convinced myself a little more, but I'm so tired of trying. I compose a reply. It is an emoticon of a smiling poo. It sums everything up. I decide to make one full lap of his apartment building, praying I'm not abducted in the meantime. I don't need to worry too much. The rain has cleared the streets of all but the most dedicated of stalkers. My red heels echo loudly as I complete my reconnaissance. It's strange, walking along, trying to look at things through someone else's eyes, let alone your sworn enemies. I look at the cracks on the pavement and wonder if he treads on these when he takes a walk down to that little organic grocery store. I wish I lived near a store like that. Maybe I wouldn't eat so much macaroni and cheese. I've always suspected people in our lives are here to teach us a lesson. I've been sure Josh's purpose is to test me, push me, make me tougher. And to a certain degree, it's been true. I pass a pane of glass and pause, studying my reflection. This dress is as cute as a button. I've got color back in my cheeks and lips, most of it cosmetic. I think of the roses. I still can't reconcile it. They were from Joshua Templeman. He walked into a florist of his own volition and wrote 3 words on a card that changed the state of play. He could have written anything. Any of the following would have been perfect. I'm sorry. I apologize. I messed up. I'm a horrible asshole. The war is over. I surrender. We're friends now. But instead, those 3 little words, you're always beautiful. The strangest admission from the last person on earth I'd expect. I let myself think the thought I've been blocking so admirably. Maybe he's never hated me. Maybe he's always wanted me. Another chirp from my pocket. Joshua Templeman. Where are you? Where indeed? Never you mind, Templeman. I'm skulking behind your building, looking at dumpsters, trying to decide if that's your gym across the street, or if you ever walk in the tiny park with the little fountain. I'm looking at the way the light shines off the pavement, and looking at everything with these brand new eyes. Where am I? I'm on another planet. Another text. Joshua Templeman. Lucinda, I'm getting annoyed. I don't reply. What's the use? I need to chalk tonight up as another awkward life experience. I look down the street and can see my car at the end of the block, waiting patiently. A cab cruises past, slows, and when I shake my head, it speeds off. Is this how stalking begins? I look up and see a moth circling a street light. Tonight, I understand that creature completely. One pass along the front of his building, and I'm done. I'll turn my head to look at where the mailboxes are. Perhaps I might want to leave him a death threat, or an anonymous dirty note, wrapped in a pair of underpants the size of a naval flag. I lengthen my stride to pass by the front doors, catching a glimpse of the tidy lobby, when I see someone walking ahead of me. A man, tall, beautifully proportioned, hands in pockets, temper and agitation in his stride. The same silhouette I saw on my first day at B&G, the shape I know better than my own shadow. Of course, on this new planet I've traveled to, there is no one but Josh. He glances over his shoulder, no doubt hearing my insanely loud shoes stop in their tracks. Then he looks again. It's a double take for the record books. I'm out stalking, I call. It doesn't come out the way I'd intended. It's not lighthearted or funny. It comes out like a warning. I'm one scary bitch right now. I hold my hands up to show I'm not armed. My heart is racing. Me too, he replies. Another cab cruises past like a shark. Where are you actually going? My voice rings down the empty street. I just told you. I'm going out stalking. What, on foot? I come closer by another 6 paces. You were going to walk? I was going to run down the middle of the street like the Terminator. The laugh blasts out of me like, bah! I'm breaking one of my rules by grinning at him, but I can't seem to stop. You're on foot after all. Stilts. He gestures at my sky-high shoes. It gives me a few extra inches of height to look through your garbage. Find anything of interest? He strolls closer and stops until we have maybe 10 paces between us. I can almost pick up the scent of his skin. Pretty much what I was expecting. Vegetable scraps, coffee grounds, adult diapers. He tips his head back and laughs at the tiny stars visible through the clouds. His amazing, exhilarating laugh is even better than I remembered. Every atom in my body trembles with the need for more. The space between us is vibrating with energy. You can smile. It's all I can say. His smile is worth 1,000 of anyone else's. I need a photograph. I need something to hold on to. I need this entire bizarre planet to stop spinning so I can freeze this moment in time. What a disaster. What can I say? You're funny tonight. It fades off his face as I take a step back. So, giving you my address was the only thing I needed to do to find you out here. Maybe I should have given it to you on our first day. What, so you could run me over with your car? I creep a little closer until we meet under a streetlight. I've spent over 8 hours looking at him today, but out of the office context, he looks brand new and strange. His hair is shiny and damp, and there is a glow on his cheekbones. The cotton t-shirt he's wearing is a washed-out navy, probably softer than a baby's bed sheets, and the cold air is probably nipping his bare forearms. Those old jeans love his body, and the button winks at me like a Roman coin. The laces on his sneakers are loose and nearly undone. He is an absolute pleasure to look at. Date didn't go so well, he surmises. To his credit, he doesn't smirk. Those dark blue eyes watch me patiently. He lets me stand there and try to think of something. How can I get myself out of this situation? Embarrassment is starting to catch up with me again, now that the joking between us is fading away. It went okay. I check my watch. But not great if you're outside my building. Or are you here to report good news? Oh, shut up. I wanted to... I don't know. See where you live. How could I resist? I was thinking about putting a dead fish in your mailbox one day. You saw where I live. It's unfair and uneven. He won't be distracted. Did you kiss him, like we agreed? I look at the streetlight. Yes. And? While I dither, he puts his hands on his hips and looks down the street, apparently at his wit's end. I wipe the back of my hand across my lips. The date itself went fine, I begin, but he steps close and cradles my jaw in his hands. The tension is crackling like static. Fine. Fine and great and nice. You need something more than fine. Tell me the truth. Fine is exactly what I need. I need something normal and easy. I see disappointment in his eyes. That's not what you need. Trust me. I try to turn my face away, but he won't allow it. I feel his thumb trace across my cheek. I try to push him away, but end up tugging him closer, his t-shirt in my fists. He's not enough for you. I have no idea why I'm even here. You do know. He presses a kiss to my cheekbone, and I rise to my tiptoes, shivering. You're here to tell me the truth. Once you stop being a little liar. He's right, of course. He's always right. No one can kiss me like you do. I have the rare privilege of seeing Josh's eyes flash bright from something other than irritation or anger. He steps closer and pauses to assess me. Whatever he sees in my own eyes seems to reassure him, and he wraps his arms around me and lifts me clear off my feet. His mouth touches mine. We both let out twin sighs of relief. There's no point in lying about why I'm here on the wet pavement outside his building. It starts as nothing more than breathing each other's air, until the pressure of our lips breaks into an open-mouthed slide. I said earlier, what does it matter? Unfortunately for me, this kiss matters. The muscles in my arms begin to quiver pathetically at his neck, and he holds me tighter until I can feel he's got me. My fingers curl into his hair, and I tug the silky thickness. He groans. Our lips sink luxuriously into kisses. Slip, tug, slide. The energy that usually lashes ineffectively inside each of us now has a conduit, forming a loop of electricity between us, cycling through me, into him. My heart is glowing in my chest like a bulb, flashing brighter with each movement of his lips. I manage to take a breath, and our slow, sexy slide is cut into a series of broken-up kisses, like gentle bites. He's testing, and there's a shyness there, too. I feel like I'm being told a secret. There's a fragility in this kiss I would never have expected. It's the same as the knowledge that one day this memory will fade. He's trying to make me remember this. It's so bittersweet my heart begins to hurt. Just as my mouth opens and I try to slide my tongue, he ends the kiss on a chaste note. Was that a last kiss? My signature first date kiss. He waits for a response, but he must see from my face I'm not capable of human language right now. He continues to hold me in a comfortable hug. I cross my ankles and look at his face like I've never seen this person before. The impact of his beauty is almost frightening up this close, with those eyes flashing bright. Our noses brush together. The sparks are in my mouth, desperate to reconnect with his. I picture him on a date with someone else, and a punch of jealousy gets me right in the gut. Yeah. You win, I say once I regain my breath. More. I lean forward, but he doesn't take the hint. As gorgeous as it was only a fraction of what he's capable of. I need the intensity of the elevator. A middle-aged couple walking arm in arm pass us by, breaking our little bubble. The woman looks back over her shoulder, her heart in her eyes. We clearly look flippin' adorable. My car is that way. I start to squirm and point. My apartment is that way. He points upward and carefully puts me on the ground like a milk bottle. I can't. Tiny little chicken. He's got my number all right. My turn to try out some scary honesty. Fine. I admit it. I'm scared shitless. If I come upstairs, we both know what will happen. Pray tell. Or something will happen. That one time I was talking about. We won't make it to the interviews next week. We'll both be crippled in your bed with the sheets and rags. His mouth lifts in what I think is going to be one hell of a heart-exploding smile, so I turn and point myself in the direction of my car. I lift one foot and begin to run. Chapter 14. No, you don't, he tells me. He walks into the building lobby with me under his arm like a rolled-up newspaper. He even checks his mailbox. Relax. I'm just going to let you see my apartment so that we're even. I always thought you'd live underground somewhere, near the Earth's core, I managed to say as he hits the button for the 4th floor. Watching his finger gives me flashbacks. I look at the red emergency button and the handrail. I try to discreetly smell him. I bypass discreet and press my nose against his t-shirt and suck in 2 brimming lungfuls. Shameful addict. If he notices, he doesn't comment. Uncle Satan didn't have any apartments available in my price range. It's a big elevator, and there's no reason for me to remain under his arm like this. But 4 floors is such a short distance, there's hardly any point in removing my arms from his waist. He's got his fingertips in my hair. I spread my hands slowly, one across his back, the other across his abdomen. Muscle and heat and flesh. I'm pressing my nose back against his ribs, inhaling again. "Creep," he says mildly, and we are walking down the hall. He unlocks the door, and I am teetering in the doorway of Joshua Templeman's apartment. He strips off my coat like a banana peel. I brace myself. He hangs my coat near the door. "Come in, then." I'm not sure what to expect. Some kind of gray cement cell, maybe, devoid of personality, a huge flat-screen TV and a wooden stool, a voodoo doll with black hair and red lipstick, a strawberry shortcake doll with a knife through her heart. Where's the dartboard with my picture on it? I lean in a little farther. It's in the spare room. It's masculine and dark, lusciously warm, all the walls painted in chocolates and sand. There's a zingy scent of orange. A big squashy couch sits center stage in front of every male's prerequisite giant flat screen, which he hadn't even turned off. He was in a big hurry. I step out of my shoes, immediately shrinking a little more. He disappears into the kitchen, and I peer around the corner. "Have a snoop. I know you're dying to." He begins to fill a shiny silver kettle, setting it on the stovetop. I let out a shaky breath. I'm not about to be ravished. No one boils water beforehand, except maybe in the Middle Ages. He's right, of course. I'm dying to look. It's why I came here. The Joshua I know is no longer enough. Knowledge is power, and I can't get enough at this point. A silent, exhilarated squeal is lodged in my throat. This is so much better than only seeing the sidewalk outside his building. There's a bookcase lining an entire wall. By the window, there's an armchair and another lamp, with a stack of books illuminated beneath it. Even more books on the coffee table. I'm intensely relieved by this. What would I have done if he turned out to be a beautiful illiterate? I like his lampshades. I step into one of the big bottle green circles of light they cast on the oriental rug. I look down and study the pattern. Vines of ivy curving and twisting. On the wall in his living room is a framed painting of a hillside, likely Italian, maybe Tuscany. It's an original, not a print. I can see the tiny dabs made by a paintbrush, and the gold frame is ornate. There are buildings clustered on the hill, church domes and spires, and a darkening purple-black sky overhead. A freckling of the faintest silver stars. There are some business magazines on the coffee table. There's a fancy, pretty cushion on the couch made of rows and rows of blue ribbons. It's also unexpected. Not in the least bit minimal. It's like a real human lives here. I realize with a jolt that his place is far lovelier than mine. I look under his couch. Nothing. Not even dust. I spot a little origami bird made of notepaper I once flicked at him during a meeting. It is balanced on the edge of the bookshelf. I look at his profile in the kitchen as he arranges 2 mugs on the counter in front of him. How strange to imagine him putting my tiny folded scrap in his pocket and bringing it home. On the next shelf down is a single-framed photograph of Josh and Patrick posed in between a couple who I assume are his parents. His father is big and handsome, with a grim edge to his smile, but his mother almost glows out of the picture. She's clearly bursting at the seams to have 2 such big, handsome sons. "I like your mother," I tell him as he approaches. He looks at the photograph, and his lips press together. I take the hint and move on. He's got a lot of medical textbooks on the bottom shelf, which look pretty dated. There's also an articulated anatomy statue of a hand showing all of the bones. I fold the fingers down until only the middle one remains raised and smirk at my cleverness. "Why do you have these?" "They're from my other life." He disappears into the kitchen again. I hit mute on the TV remote, and the silence drenches us. I creep past him into his kitchen. It's sparkling clean, and the dishwasher is humming. The orange scent is his antibacterial counter spray. I I notice my post-it note with the kiss on it stuck to the fridge and point at it. He shrugs. You put so much hard work into it. Seemed ashamed to waste it. I stand there in the light bulb glow of his refrigerator and stare at everything. There's a rainbow of color in here. Stalks, leaves, whiskery roots, tofu and organic pasta sauce. My fridge is nothing but cheese and condiments. I know. I close the fridge and lean against it, magnets digging into my spine. I put my face up for a kiss, but he shakes his head. A little crestfallen, I look in his cutlery drawer and stroke the arm of the jacket hanging by the door. In the pocket, I find a gas station receipt. $46 paid in cash. Everything is neat. Everything in its place. No wonder my apartment broke him out in stress hives. My place is like a Calcutta slum in comparison to this. I need a basket for my gym gear, too. Where's all your junk? Where's your too hard pile? You've confirmed your worst fears. I'm a neat freak. I'm the freak as I spend at least 20 minutes looking at practically everything he owns. I violate his privacy so badly, I make myself feel a bit ill. But he stands there and lets me. It's a 2-bedroom place, and I stand in the middle of what is set up as a study, hands on hips. Huge computer monitor, some huge dumbbells, a closet filled with heavy winter sportswear and a sleeping bag. More books. I look lustfully at his filing cabinet. If he wasn't here, I'd read his electricity bills. Are you done? I look down at my hand. I'm holding an old Matchbox car I found in one of the narrow drawers of the bureau. I'm clutching it in my hands like a crazy old pickpocket. Not yet. I'm so scared I can barely say it. Josh points, and I walk over to the remaining darkened doorway. He snaps on the light switch near my ear, and I make a strangled gasp of delight. His room is painted the blue of my favorite shirt of his, robin's egg blue. Pale turquoise mixed with milk. I feel a strange unfurling in my chest, like a sense of deep déjà vu. Like I've been here before, and I will be again. I hug the doorframe. Is this your favorite color? Yes. There's tension in his tone. Maybe he's been teased before. I love it. I sound reverent. It's such an unexpected pop of bright against the dark chocolates and taupes, and I think how Josh it is. Something unexpected. Pale, pretty blue. The dark brown headboard, plushly upholstered in leather, saves the room from femininity. He's behind me, close enough to lean against, but I resist. The scent of his skin is fogging my brain. His bed is made and the linen is white, and I seem to find that little detail pretty sexy. His bathroom is polished to a high shine, red towels and a red toothbrush. It looks like an IKEA catalog. I would never have picked you as someone who owns a fern. I had one, but it went brown and crunchy. I go back to Joshua Templeman's bed. I touch my finger to the edge of his pillowcase. Okay, you're getting beyond weird now. I try to rattle the headboard, but it's solid. Stop it. Sit on the couch. I made you tea. I scuttle sideways like a crab into the living room. How could you stand there and watch me snoop? I take the fancy cushion and stuff it in the small of my back. He gives me a mug and I hold it like a weapon. I snooped through your apartment. It's your turn. I'm flustered, but try to hide it with a joke. Did you find all the pictures I have of you with your eyes scratched out? No, I never did find your scrapbook. I do know you've got 26 Papa Smurfs and you don't fold your bedsheets properly. He's at the other end of the couch, head rolled gently to the side, lounging comfortably. He lolls in his office chair a lot, but I've never seen his body make such stretched-out, loose shapes. I can't stop looking at him. Sheets are too hard. My arms aren't long enough. He sighs and shakes his head. It's no excuse. Did you look in my underwear drawer? Of course not. I've got to save something for next time. Can I look in yours now? I'm losing my wits. The threshold to his apartment is where I left my sanity. I sip the tea. It is like nectar. Now, shortcake. We're going to do something a bit unusual. He unmutes the TV and takes a sip from his mug and starts watching an old rerun of ER, like we do this every night. I sit with a pounding heart and try to concentrate. Hey, this is no big deal. I'm sitting on Joshua Templeman's couch. I roll my head to the side and stare at him for the entire episode, watching the tense surgery scenes and ward conflicts reflected in his eyes. Am I bothering you? No, he replies absently. I'm used to it. We are not normal. The minutes tick past, and he drinks his coffee, and I continue to stare. He's got a shading of stubble I don't see during working hours. My chest is tight with anxiety. My body and brain are conditioned for combat whenever I'm in his immediate radius. When he looks over, I jerk back. He puts his hand between us on the couch, palm up, and then looks back at the TV. It's like he's put out a dish of seed and is now sitting very still, waiting for the cowardly little chicken to make a move. And it does take me a while. I tentatively pick up his hand and lace his fingers into mine. For a scary moment, he doesn't react, but as the warmth of his hand begins to glow into my palm, he gives me a deep, delicious squeeze. He lays our joined hands back down, picks up his mug with his other hand, and nods at the screen. I watch medical dramas to spite my dad. They drive him insane. You could never have this on in their house. Why? Are they inaccurate? I'm glad to be able to focus my attention on something other than this strange, hand-related development. Oh yeah, they're complete fiction. I prefer Law and Order. I love when a restaurant worker finds a body in a dumpster. Or a dog walker in Central Park. He gestures at the screen with his coffee. That so-called doctor isn't even wearing gloves. He scowls at the screen like he is offended to his core. The art of holding hands is underrated, and it's embarrassing how much this simple act has me nearly breathless. The pads of each of his fingertips reach across the backs of my hands to my wrist. Large men have always intimidated me. When I mentally line up my ex-boyfriends, they've all been definitely on the jockey end of the scale. Easier to deal with. More of an even match. There's never been any of the astounding masculine architecture I'm sitting next to now. The rounded caps of muscle on his shoulders balance on smoothly curving biceps. His elbow and wrist joints are like something from a hardware store. How would it feel to lie underneath a man as big as this? It would be staggering. Josh watches ER and yawns, not at all suspecting I'm trying to estimate how big his rib cage is, like a meat-eating predator. It's possible our size mismatch has added a friction to our interactions during our working hours. I've always tried to make myself stronger in the only way I can, my mind and my mouth. I think he's converted me. I think I'm into muscles now. I've started to breathe a little hard, and he looks at me. What's with the weird eyes? Relax. I was thinking how big you are. I look at our joined hands. He carefully strokes the length of my palm with his thumb. When we look at each other again, his eyes are a little darker. I'll fit you just right. Goosebumps scatter my skin. I press my thighs together and accidentally make a little pony snort. I'm sexy as hell. I can't resist. I look over my shoulder at his bedroom. It's so close, it would take maybe 5 big strides to be pushed backward down onto his mattress. His tongue could be on my skin in under 30 seconds. If you're going to fit me so well, show me. I will. Our palms are slick. The back of my neck feels hot under my hair. I need to be kissed again. This time, I'm going to slide my tongue against his until he groans. Until he presses something hard against me. Until he takes me into his bedroom and takes off his clothes. The end credits of history's longest episode of ER begin to roll. My heart is threatening to pop like a balloon. He mutes the TV ominously and turns his head until we're playing the staring game. I watch his eyes tip into black, breathless for whatever's about to happen. I can feel a pulse point in all the sensitive parts of my body. Between my legs is heavy and warm. I look at his mouth. He looks at mine. Then he looks at our joined hands. What happens now? He slants me a look. The next word out of his mouth is like the lash of a whip. Strip. I flinch, and he laughs to himself and turns the TV off. I'm kidding. Come on. I'll walk you down to your car. I am getting dangerously high off his smiles. This is my third one now? I'm stuffing them in my pockets. I'm cramming them into my mouth. But my voice is plaintive. I thought... His eyebrows pinched together in a fake display of incomprehension. You know, it's rather hurtful to only be wanted for my body. I didn't even get the date beforehand. He looks down at our hands again. From what I can see, you've got a fabulous set of bones. What else should I want you for? I start holding and squeezing some of his arm joints. It's the worst seduction routine imaginable, but he doesn't seem to mind. His elbow is too big to fit in my hand. My dress helpfully slips down a little when I reach for him, and his eyes trail down to the revealed cleavage. When we make eye contact again, I realize that I've said the wrong thing. He swiftly conceals it by frowning. We're not doing this tonight. I nearly snap back, but as I watch his eyelids close and he takes a deep breath, I realize how badly I don't want this evening to end. If I ask you a question about yourself, will you answer? Will you do the same? He's regaining composure, like I am. Sure. Everything we do is tit for tat. Okay. He opens his eyes, and for a moment, I can't think of anything to ask that won't be revealing too much of myself in the process. What do you really think of me? Is this all some elaborate plan to mess me up? How badly hurt will I be? I try to sound light. Let's make it a game, like everything else we do. It's easier. Truth or dare? Truth, because you're dying for me to say dare. What are the pencil codes in your planner? Is it for HR? He scowls. What's the dare? His scent is fogging spicily around me. The plush, warm couch conspires to tip me closer to his lap. You even need to ask? He stands up, and stands me up too. My hands curl into the waistband of his jeans, and I feel nothing but firm mail against the backs of my knuckles. My mouth is nearly watering. We can't start this tonight. He takes my fingers out of his jeans. Why not? I think I'm begging. I'm going to need a little more time. It's only 10:30. I follow him to the front door. You've told me we'll only do this once. I'm going to need a long time. I feel a fluttery pinch between my legs. How long? A long time. Days, probably longer. My knees knock together. His eyes crinkle. Let's call in sick tomorrow. I am indefatigable in my quest to get his clothes off. He looks at the ceiling and swallows hard. Like I'm going to waste my one big chance on a generic Monday night. It won't be a waste. How can I explain it? When we were kids, Patrick would always eat his Easter eggs straight away. I could make mine last until my birthday. When's your birthday? June 20th. What star sign are you? Cancer? Gemini. And why wouldn't you eat it straight away exactly? Wow, I sure know how to make things sound filthy. He strokes my hair away from my shoulder. It made Patrick sweat. He'd go into my room and obsess over it. He'd ask me every day if I'd eaten it. It drove him insane. It drove my parents goddamn insane. Even they'd beg me to eat it. When I finally did, it tasted better, knowing how bad someone else wanted it. He slides the shoulder of my red dress a half inch to the right and looks down at the skin before leaning down and breathing me in. I feel the tickling suck of his inhale and feel a deep stab of empathy for the heavenly torture his Easter eggs suffered. It's perverted to be turned on by a childhood story about two brothers, isn't it? He presses his mouth to my shoulder and laughs. It vibrates through my entire body. I look over at his beautiful bedroom, all lit up with the light still burning, blue and white, like a gorgeous Tiffany box. A gift with a ribbon. A room I want to spend days in. A room I'll probably never want to come out of. Did you eat it a bite at a time, or did you snap one day and gorge on it? I guess you'll find out, eventually. He picks up his keys and stands jingling them while I put my coat on. We don't touch in the elevator. He walks me outside in silence, over to my car. Bye. Thanks for the tea. Embarrassment has caught up with me. I've acted like a total nut tonight. Why is it I can act like a normal human with a guy like Danny, but with Josh I end up dorking out? Something is sharp in my hand and I look down. Oh shit, I'm still holding the Matchbox car. I'm a freak. I put my face in my hands and tiny wheels roll across my cheek. Yes, he is gently amused. Sorry. Keep it. It's a present. The first thing he's ever given me aside from the roses. I'm honored beyond words and study it afresh. It has the initials JT scratched onto the bottom. Is it a childhood treasure? It looks old. I don't think I'd give it back, even if he changed his mind. Maybe it's the start of your new collection. I think we've done something kind of monumental for us. We had a ceasefire for the full length of a TV episode. You sure are good at holding hands. I'm probably not good at a lot of things, but I will try to be. He tells me. It's the strangest thing to say, and I feel another crack forming in the wall between us. Well, thanks. I'll see you tomorrow. No, you won't. I've got a day off. He never ever takes a day off. Doing anything special? I look up at the apartments above, and a wave of loneliness hits me. I have an appointment. Just when I think I've got a handle on this kaleidoscope of weird feelings, it twists and something new surprises me. I feel like I've been told Christmas is canceled. No Josh, sitting across from me like always. I have to bite my lip to silence myself. Please, I beg myself. Please hate Josh again. This is too hard. You're not going to miss me, are you? You can manage one little Tuesday on your own. He touches the little toy car in my hand and spins the wheels a little. I try to be nonchalant, but he probably sees through it. Miss you? I'll miss looking at your pretty face, but that's about it. I hope it landed somewhere in the vicinity of faint sarcasm. I haul my quivering body into my car. He taps the window to make me lock the door. It takes me several attempts to get the key into the ignition. Josh stands motionless in my rearview mirror until he's a speck, one person among billions. But I cannot tear my eyes away until he disappears altogether. When I get home, I still have the Matchbox car in my hand. Chapter 15. I'm sitting at my desk, eyelids dry and tight, and I'm staring at Josh's empty seat. The office is cold, quiet, a professional haven. Any of the cubicle inmates downstairs would kill for this kind of silence. Josh is supposed to be sitting across from me in an off-white striped shirt. He should be holding a calculator, tapping, frowning, tapping again. If he were here, he'd look at me, and when our eyes connected, a flashbulb of energy would pop inside me. I'd label it annoyance or dislike. I'd take the little flash and call it something I don't think it is. I look at the clock. I wait for a small eternity, and a minute ticks by. To amuse myself, I roll my new Matchbox car back and forth across my mousepad, then take out the florist card from underneath. You're always beautiful. I look at my reflection in the ridiculous prism of glass surrounding me. I look at the wall, the ceiling, analyzing my appearance from different angles. Those 3 words now aren't enough to sate me. He's created a monster. I turn the florist's card over and notice the address. I have the best idea and cackle out loud. Grabbing my purse, I walk down to the corner to the exact same florist. Before I lose my nerve, I arrange to have a bunch of off-white roses sent to him with a card. I barely know what I'm going to write until my hand writes out the following for me. I want you for more than your body. I want you for your Matchbox cars. Shortcake. Instantly, I have a wave of self-doubt, but the florist has already taken the card and carried the bouquet out to their back room. It's a joke, that's all, these flowers. He did it for me, and we hate being uneven. I slide my credit card back into my purse and imagine him opening his door and the look on his face. I'm basically cannonballing into something I shouldn't. On the walk back, I buy takeout coffee and knock gently on Elaine's door. Hi, am I interrupting? Yes, thank God, she exclaims, throwing her glasses down so vigorously they bounce onto the floor. Coffee, you're a saint. Saint Lucy of caffeine. And that's not all. I take out a flat box of fancy macaroons from under my arm, labeled Made in France. I've had them in my drawer for a while for an emergency. I'm such a kiss-ass. Did I say saint? I meant goddess. She reaches into the cabinet behind her and finds a plate. It is delicate, painted with flowers and edged in gold. Of course. It's so quiet out there today. I can hear a pin drop. It feels strange to not be glared at. Get used to it. He does stare a lot at you, doesn't he, darling? I've noticed in the last few all-staff meetings. Those dark blue eyes of his are actually rather lovely. How's the interview preparation coming along? She opens the box of macaroons with her silver letter opener, and I'm grateful she's momentarily distracted. She shakes the box gently onto the plate, and we each choose. I pick an off-white vanilla one, like today's missing shirt, because I am tragic. I'm as ready as I'll ever be. I'm not on the interview panel, so it wouldn't be a conflict of interest if we did some practice together. How's your presentation coming along? I'd love to show you what I've got. Bexley has been making all sorts of comments. I don't know what I'll do, Lucy, if for some reason you don't get the job. She looks out the window, expression darkening. She passes a hand through her hair, and it settles back into a perfect shining cap. I wish my hair was so obedient. He could easily get the job over me. Josh has a money brain. I'm more of a book brain. I don't necessarily agree, but if you want, we could breed you together and create the next generation ultimate B&G employee. I've never heard you call him Josh before. I pretend my mouth is incredibly full. I chew and point to my mouth and shake my head and buy myself 20 seconds of time. I hope the phone rings. Oh, well, that's his name, I guess. Josh Templeman, Joshua T. She munches, staring with avid interest at my face. You've got a rather eerie glow about you today, darling. No, I don't. She's on to me. My messing around with Josh is catching up to me. You're all confused and bunny in the headlights. It's these dates. It's all a bit confusing. Danny is nice. He really is. All my favorite boyfriends when I was young weren't particularly nice. There's a bang on the door adjoining Mr. Bexley's office to Elaine's. I'm deeply grateful to Fat Little Dick for this interruption. Enter, she barks. He bursts in and stops dead when he sees me and the box of macaroons on the desk. What do you want? Never mind. He lingers, eyes on the desk, until she heaves a sigh and holds the plate in his direction. He takes 2, fingers hesitating on a 3rd. I swear I see the faintest hint of amusement in her eyes when he walks back out and shuts the door without a word. Lord, could that man smell the sugar? I gave him some to encourage the diabetes, darling, no other reason. What did he want? He's lonely without Josh. He's going to have to get used to it. When should we do a practice presentation? No time like the present? Wow me, darling. After delivering my introduction, I can see I have her attention. My presentation is to propose a new backlist digitalization project. I've taken a sample of the combined top 100 books published by Gamin and also by Bexley in 1995, just as an example. Only about 55% are available in digital format. iPads are a fad, Mr. Bexley interjects from the open adjoining door, chewing. Who would want to read off a sheet of glass? The fact is, the largest growing market for e-readers are those over 30. I explain, trying to keep my cool. How long has he been standing there? How did he open the door so silently? I focus on Elaine and try to ignore him. This is a huge opportunity for all of us. It's a chance to renew contracts with authors that have gone out of print. It's growth within the company for people who have the skills to pull the content into ebook, the cover designers, and to get older B&G releases back onto bestseller lists. Publishing is constantly evolving, and we need to keep up. Please leave, Elaine says over her shoulder to Mr. Bexley. The door closes, but I swear I can still see 2 shadows of his feet under the door. The rising panic is now fully fledged. If he reveals my strategy to Josh, he could screw me. I click to my last slide. If I'm successful in winning this position, I would seek to create a formal project to get the deep backlist into ebook. I have created an initial budget, which I'll get to in a few slides' time. These ebooks will all need to be repackaged with new, updated covers. There will be costs involved with 3 new cover designers over the course of the 2-year project. I click through my project proposal. Elaine questions me on several points, and I can answer her questions and justify my requirements easily. Eventually, I'm at my last slide. Elaine stares at the screen for so long, I check to see if she's blinking. Darling. Very, very good. I drop to kneel beside her chair. Tears are forming in her eyes, and she takes the tissues from my hand, sighing like she feels silly. I've been selfish in keeping you out there, she says quietly. I can't do without you. But I see now how wrong I've been. I should have done more to get you into editorial after the merger. You were so upset, too, about losing your friend. I can't say anything. I don't know what to say. But every time I started to think about recruiting for your job, I'd think about how good you are at it. How you basically keep this office running and keeping me sane. Then I'd say, maybe another month won't hurt. I only do my job, I say, but she shakes her head. Another month. And another month. And it did hurt you, Lucy. You've had ambitions and things you've wanted and ideas, but I couldn't bear to let you go. So the presentation was okay? She laughs and wipes her eyes. It is going to get you this promotion, and we are going to get B&G back into the game with this. Together. I want to be right beside you, working as colleagues. Mentoring you might be one of the best things I ever achieve in my career. She looks at the last presentation slide and pauses. I have to know, though, if there were no interviews, no new job, would this idea have stayed locked up inside you forever? Why keep this to yourself? I sit back on my heels and look at my hands. Good question. How many other things has this promotion unlocked inside me? I thought you knew your ideas were important. She's starting to fret. I think maybe I was waiting for the timing to be right, or I didn't have confidence. Now I'm being forced to go with it. It's a good thing, I think. Even if I don't get the job, this whole thing has woken me up. I think of last night, kissing Josh under a streetlight, and then remember. What if Mr. Bexley tells Josh about my presentation? Let me deal with him. If he turns up dead in the river, you'll know to keep your mouth shut and provide me an alibi. Focus on next week. I do have a suggestion. Great. I take the USB and sit opposite her again. Hit me. It's a little light in some places. Why not have an ebook ready for the presentation? Get something from the deep backlist catalog into e-format and have a breakdown of how many man-hours it took, salary, costs. The actual cost of creating it. It will prove your budget is right. Yes, good idea. I gulp my lukewarm coffee. You think numbers are Josh's strength, yes? Here's your chance to prove you're every bit as capable of creating a baseline budget for this new project. I'm nodding and scribbling notes, my mind racing ahead. But to keep things fair, you can't use company resources on this. Get creative. Use your contacts. Maybe someone who can freelance? There's no mistaking that she means Danny. I jot down a few notes for myself as she turns off the projector. I'm going to get this, I tell her with a new certainty. No doubt about it, darling. Elaine looks to the adjoining door, and I see her mouth start to quirk with mischief. Did you give some more thought to your recent battles with Josh? I have an interesting theory. A little cackle escapes her. I'm not sure I'm ready to hear this. I lean on her desk. It's inappropriate, but here goes. Josh thought you were lying about your date because he can't imagine you with anyone but himself. I try all vowel combinations. Heat is sweeping up my chest, up my throat, face, into the roots of my hair, until I am completely red. Think on that, she says, and pops another entire macaroon in her mouth. I open my mouth, hesitate, close it, then do it a few more times. She stands up and dusts off crumbs, looking at me shrewdly. I've got to run. I have the hot water man coming at 3. Why do they always come at the most inconvenient times? Go home too, darling. You look a bit like a fish. I sit at my desk after she leaves. The pathway is as clear as day. I should be on the phone to Danny to talk to him about freelancing on my ebook, but every time I pick up the phone, I put it down again. To keep things professional, I dig out his business card and email him a meeting request for tomorrow. I have no idea what he charges, but it's all or nothing at this point. I have a text. My stomach free falls. My heart soars. Joshua Templeman. Glad to hear it. He got the roses then. I hug the phone to my chest. This interview is the worst kind of limbo. So many people have wished me good luck in the hallways. Imagining their sympathetic awkwardness if I fail is unbearable. If Josh gets this job, I have to walk away. I look at the cross in my planner that symbolizes next week's interview. As much as my mock presentation boosted my confidence, I also need to plan out the worst-case scenario. It's good business planning to have an exit strategy. I've got some money saved in a sacred account that I never touch. I'd wanted to take a vacation this year, but I guess it's going to be my safety net. Maybe I'd have to go and sit under the umbrella at the front gates of Sky Diamond Strawberries. My parents would probably hug and jump and scream in delight. They wouldn't even have the decency to be disappointed in me. If Josh gets this job and I resign, will my bitterness outweigh those little flickers inside my chest when he looks at me? Could our weird, fragile little game survive outside these walls? My friendship with Val didn't survive. Could we see each other while I hear about his successes at B&G and I'm in the job queue? On the other hand, would he be happy for my success while he's papering this city with his CV? His pride is something I can't imagine he'd lay down lightly. I'm not completely out of options. I've got some contacts at some smaller boutique publishers that I could possibly approach, but I'd feel disloyal to Elaine. I could ask Elaine for a transfer into another B&G team. Maybe it is time to start at the bottom of the editorial team. But if I remain at B&G, that would almost certainly mean that Josh was the new COO. Needless to say, any chance of ever sitting on his couch again would be completely gone. Life would be easier if I could just hate Joshua Templeman. I look at his empty chair, and then close my eyes, the blue of his bedroom washing through me. I'm about to lose something that I never had to begin with. I go home early as per Elaine's suggestion and look for something to occupy myself. Everything is tidy, thanks to Josh. I check online for any new Smurf auctions and do a little stock take of my current collection. I count the Papa Smurfs. I look in my empty fridge and think of his rainbow of fruit and vegetables. I decide to make a cup of tea and have none. I could go out to the store, but instead I drink a glass of water. I feel cold and bundle myself in a cardigan. Now that I've seen his apartment, I can't stop looking at my own with new eyes. It's so drab. White walls, beige carpet, the couch a nondescript color in between. No patterned rugs or framed paintings. I shower and put on makeup, which is ridiculous. Why would I spray perfume onto my cleavage? Or put on my nice jeans? There's no one here to see me or smell me. I've got nowhere to go. It's been so long since I've had someone in the city I could call. I sit down and my knee is bouncing. My insides are crawling. I feel like a magnet, shaking with the need to move. Is this how addicts feel? I am beginning to realize what's happening, but I can't admit it to myself. Not yet. Has holding a phone and looking at a contact name ever been this terrifying? Joshua Templeman. I should be sitting here looking at Danny Fletcher. I should be giving Danny a call, asking him to meet me for a movie or a bite to eat. We could plot and plan my project. He's my new friend. He'd meet me wherever I asked in 20 minutes. I bet he would. I'm dressed. I'm ready. But I don't. Instead, I do something I don't think I've ever done. I hit the call button. Immediately, I hang up and throw my phone onto the bed like a grenade. I wipe my damp palms on my thighs and let out a wheezing breath. My phone begins to ring. Incoming, Joshua Templeman. "Oh, hi," I manage to say lightly when I answer. I grind the heel of my hand into my temple. I have no dignity. "I had a missed call. It rang once?" There's loud pulsing music in the background. He's probably swilling liquor in a bar, surrounded by tall models in stretchy white dresses. "You're busy. I'll talk to you about it tomorrow." I'm at the gym. Cardio. Weights. I do weights at night. The response implies he does cardio another time. He makes a faint grunt, and then I hear a heavy metal clang. "So what's up? Don't tell me you pocket-dialed me." No. There's no point in pretending. Interesting. There's a muffled clothing sound, maybe a towel, and then a door closes. The obnoxious pulsing music gets quieter. I'm outside now. I don't know if I've ever seen your name on my caller ID. Something happen at work? I know. I was thinking that too. There is a loaded pause. No, it's not work-related. That's a shame. I was hoping Bexley had a fatal embolism. I make an amused honk. Then I fidget. I was calling because I haven't seen you today. I've been feeling mixed up and desperately sad, and for some reason seeing you might help the weird pain in my chest. I don't have friends, except for you. Except you're not. Yes? He is not helping me out at all. I'm hungry, and I have no food, and I haven't got any tea, and my apartment is cold, and I'm bored. What a very sad little life. You've got lots of food and tea, and your heating is better than mine, and There's nothing but silence. I'm not bored when I'm with you. I'm mortified. But I'd better just... He cuts me off. Better come over then. Relief floods through me. Should I bring something? What would you bring? I could grab some food on the way. No, it's okay. I've got something to cook. Do you want me to pick you up? I'd better drive myself. Probably safer. We both know why. It'd be too easy for me to stay the night otherwise. I'm already holding my purse, coat, and keys. My feet are in shoes. I'm locking my door and jogging down the hall to the elevator. Will you show me the muscles you worked on? I thought you wanted me for more than that. I can hear a car start. At least I'm not the only impatient one. Race you there. I want to see you all sweaty. We need to get even. Give me half an hour. No, an hour. He's alarmed. I'll wait for you in the lobby. Do not leave now. See you soon. I reply and hang up. I start laughing when I start my car and pull out into traffic. It's a new game, the racing game, with 2 cars at different points on a city grid speeding toward a central location. It's scary how I want to be in his apartment on his couch so badly I'm jiggling my knee impatiently at red lights. I'd bet anything he's doing the same. When I'm jogging up the sidewalk to the entrance to his building, I've basically exhausted all of my weak excuses, caveats, reasoning, and we're down to this. I run into the lobby. I haven't seen Josh all day and I miss him. The elevator has an up arrow above it. I hold my breath. It bings. He couldn't imagine you with anyone but himself. The doors snap open, and there he is. Chapter 16. He's ruffled and sweaty, weighed down by gym gear. His brow creases when he spots me, his eyes unsure. He puts a hand out to hold the elevator door. My heart bursts. I won! I scream as I run at him. He has enough time to put out his arms as I jump. He hits the back wall with a grunt as I manage to get my arms and legs around him. The doors slide closed, and he manages to hit the button for his floor. I think technically I won. I was in the building first. I hear him say over my head, I won, I repeat until he laughs and concedes. Okay, you won. His sweat smells like rainwater and cedar, leaving a faint rosemary pine tingle in my nostrils. I press my face against his neck and breathe in, again and again, until the elevator bings, and we're on the 4th floor. I try to muster up the strength to let him go, but the addictive press of our bodies together is stronger than my willpower. Okay, then. He begins to walk down the hallway. I'm clinging like a koala to his front, coat flapping, my bag bumping against his gym bag. I hope he doesn't bump into any neighbors. I lean back enough to see his face and see amusement shining in his eyes as he puts down his bag beside his door and begins sorting through his keys. Every man should get a welcome home like that. Don't mind me. Go about your business. I hug harder. His collarbone fits nicely under my cheekbone. He's wearing a hoodie, and his body feels humid and damp. I hear him drop his gym gear into the basket. He toes off his sneakers, which seems a little bit more difficult, and he takes my bag. He presses a button on the heating control. Seriously, just pretend I'm not here. He walks us into the kitchen and bends to look in the refrigerator, making me grip tighter. He fills a glass, and I press my ear to his neck to listen to him swallow. I tighten my legs around him, and he slides a hand to my butt and squeezes it once in a friendly way. Then he gives it a slap. Ow, what's in your pocket? Oh, I remember now and feel like a nerd. I slither down to my feet. It's nothing. It hurt my hand. He pulls the lumpy shape out of my pocket and cranes to see what he's found. It's a Smurf. Of course. What else would you fill your pockets with? Why does it have a bow on it? I have, like, 10 of him. It's Grouchy Smurf. If I didn't know how much you adore Smurfs, I'd be insulted. His mouth quirks, and I know I've pleased him. So what's with the Smurfs anyway? My dad had a regular delivery over the state line. He'd leave before dawn and be back after I went to bed. He always bought me a Smurf at the gas station on the way home. So they remind you of your dad. That's nice. It meant that he was thinking of me. I shuffle on the spot. Well, thank you for thinking of me. Well, you gave me something of yours, so we're even. Is that so important? Being even? Of course. I notice he has a little whiteboard with a weekly meal plan. He's such a freak. Okay, well, you're clean and I'm not. I need a shower. How do you smell so good after the gym? I go into the living room and throw myself down onto the couch with a groan. I sink into it like it's made of memory foam. Hello, Lucy, the couch tells me. I knew you'd be back. I didn't think I did, he replies from the kitchen. I'm hearing water boiling and the fridge opening and teaspoon clinking. You do. I pat around for the ribbon cushion, like a muscly pine cone. I think it's my soap. Mom gives it to me in bulk. She likes making care packages. He appears, upside down, and I see a slice of heavy bare shoulder revealed by his hoodie sliding off. He's wearing a tank under there. My mouth puddles with drool. He puts a mug near me and hands me the cushion. Take the hoodie off, please. I'll only look with my eyes. He puts his finger on the zip and I bite my lip. Then he zips it up to his neck as high as it will go, and I howl. Drink your tea, you little pervert. He tosses something on my stomach. He shuts his bedroom door, and after a minute, I hear the shower. I hold up a box. It's a packaged Matchbox car. I can't help feeling like it's a reproach. Isn't being wanted for his body a man's dream? I put the ribbon pillow under my neck. It's a little black car this time, quite similar to his. Is this what he did on his day off? Go and buy me a toy? I open the pack and drive the tiny car in my stomach for a while. I imagine him in the shower with his bar of soap, like the little perv I am. As predictably as night follows day, I begin to fret as the minutes pass. I don't know why I'm here again. All I know is this couch is my new favorite place on earth. I should put my shoes on and leave. I touch the side of my mug. Not cool enough to drink. I need to start behaving normally. I got a little overexcited. I think about what kind of girls he probably dates. Tall, cool blondes. I feel it in my tiny, undersized brunette bones. I remember once going to a club with Val, back in the day when I actually did things, before the merger, before the loneliness. We saw these bored, beautiful, icy girls. They were standing beside the bar, ignoring all the men who approached them. Val and I spent the rest of the night imitating them on the dance floor, striking aloof poses and making each other laugh with fierce, steely glances. I might try it now. When his bedroom door opens and he appears again, I am a mature young woman, legs elegantly crossed, flipping through a medical textbook, sipping my tea. He's got on some soft black sweats, a black t-shirt, and nice bare feet. Can't he have a flaw? He sits on the edge of the couch, his hair damp and ruffled in every direction. I turn the page and, unfortunately, a lurid diagram of an erect penis glares up at me. I am trying to be a bit more normal. He looks at the page. How's it working out so far? I'm glad this isn't a pop-up book. He huffs in amusement. I follow him to the kitchen and watch him cut vegetables into ridiculously neat little sticks. Omelet okay? I nod and glance at his whiteboard. Tuesday. Omelet. I look at what's for dinner for the rest of the week. I wonder how I can score an invitation back. Can I do anything? He shakes his head, and I watch him crack 6 eggs into a metal bowl. So how was work? You clearly missed me. I put my hands on my face in embarrassment, and he just laughs a bit to himself. It was boring. It's the truth. No one to antagonize, huh? I tried abusing some of the gentle folk in payroll, but they got all teary. The trick is to find that one person who can give it back as good as they can take it. He takes out a pan and begins to fry the vegetables in a single stingy drop of oil. Sonia Rutherford, probably. That scary lady in the mailroom that looks like an albino Morticia Addams. Don't line my replacement up too quick. You'll hurt my feelings. The reminder of the likely outcome of this entire scenario makes me decide to lean against him. The middle of his back is the most perfectly ergonomic place to hide my face. When it all comes to an end, I'm going to remember this. You gotta tell me why you're here. I got a bit sad today, thinking about everything changing. Dr. Josh diagnoses you with Stockholm Syndrome. I know, right? I snuggle my cheek into the muscle. Maybe you fear change, rather than the prospect of sitting alone in there. I appreciate he hasn't automatically said I'd be out job hunting. I kept thinking about your blue bedroom. I feel like this is something we need to discuss before time runs out. I hear the deep sizzle of the egg being added to the vegetables. He covers the pan and turns. You're the sort of person who needs to be eased into things slowly. I open my mouth to protest, but he silences me. I know you, Luce. And you do. Your freakouts are pretty impressive. Imagine we have sex right now. Right here on the counter. He slaps his hand down firmly on it. You'd be so awkward afterward, you'd never speak to me again. You'd quit ahead of the interviews and go and live in the forest. Why would you care? I'd like to live in a forest. I need you to compete with me. And maybe we can find a scenario that doesn't involve running out of time. He sighs and checks the omelet. Do you have one-night stands? Like, do you go to clubs and pick out some hot guy and take him home with you? Even as he asks the question, his face grimaces. Maybe I'm not the only one who can imagine faceless suitors. Of course not. Unless you count. And I can't even get one night. He lightly rubs his palm across my shoulders, as kindly as a friend, and all the wiring holding my muscles together gets an inch looser. I step closer and lean all my weight against him. When I press my cheek on his chest, his heat glows against me. I'm trying to make sure that when we do, you don't have any regrets. I doubt I would. I'm flattered. He peeks in at the omelet. Go back to the couch. Put the TV on. I drop myself into the plush perfection of his couch. I'm going to transform my igloo into a safe, warm little stronghold too. I need lamps, rugs, more shelves, and a painting of Tuscany. I need buckets of paint and a pale blue bedroom. White linen and a fern. Where'd you get this couch? I want to get the same one. It's the only one on Earth. His dry voice floats out from the kitchen. Can I buy it from you? No. What about this ribbon cushion? One of a kind. I think I see your strategy. I watch TV for a bit, and Josh hands me a plate and a fork. I'm like a little duchess when I'm here. You don't have to wait on me. I kick my shoes off under his coffee table. Some horrible monsters secretly enjoy spoiling little duchesses. Should we aim for a 2-hour ceasefire? Starting now? Sure, let's do it. Yum, this looks good. I can smell fresh basil. How is he still single? We watch the news and he takes my empty plate. Then he gives me a bowl of vanilla ice cream. He doesn't have one for himself. Why even bother keeping any in your freezer? In case I have unexpected sweet tooth visitors. I can't help but grin at the thought. It wouldn't destroy those abs to have one little spoonful. It's protein, right? He looks at the bowl and sighs. He takes my spoon from me and steals a huge mouthful. Oh, Lord. His eyelids flutter. You should treat yourself to something small each night. No point in being cruel to yourself. Something small, huh? He looks at me pointedly. Okay. I take another mouthful of ice cream. The spoon slides against my tongue, and the intimacy of it is obscene. His tongue, my tongue. I lick it, and he watches me, chest expanding, breath leaving him in a rush. He unfolds a fluffy gray blanket over me, and I lie there like a spoiled child. He sits at the far end, near my feet, and I stare at his side profile as he leans forward on the edge of the couch and picks up the medical textbook. You look sad. I'm happy. His expression changes to faint surprise. Weird. Why do you still have those textbooks? This one has so many dicks in it. I was originally going to go into the family trade. I haven't managed to part with them, I guess. And a lot of them are my mother's. They're pretty old, but she wanted me to have them. He flips to the flyleaf and traces his finger across her handwritten name. I want to ask about his parents, but if I know Josh, he's on the verge of shutting down. Dr. Josh, MD. You would have been a sexy doctor. Oh, definitely. He discards the book and clicks around with the remote. All your lady patients would have had pounding heart rates. He takes my empty bowl. He kisses the little hinge of my jaw until I gasp, and then finds the pulse point in my wrist expertly. Let's see. Think about me in a white coat, sliding a stethoscope into the neck of your blouse. I can almost feel the freezing cold disc pressed against me. I shiver, and I feel my nipples begin to pinch. You're giving me a brand new kink. I say it like a smartass, but he smiles. I could probably work with that. My mind leaps to what our theoretical sex life would be like. We're playing games with each other all day. It stands to reason they'd carry on in bed. The image hits me so powerfully I feel my body squeeze, empty and wanting. His voice against the back of my ear as we stand in the doorway to his beautiful bedroom. What shall we play now? I'd pretend to be sick every single night. Every night. He's still checking my pulse, staring at his watch, his lips moving as he counts. It's so sexy, I know it beats faster. Eventually, he releases me. Quite a pounding little heart you got there. And a raging case of horny eye. I think it's quite serious. Will I die? I prescribe complete couch rest under my supervision, but it's touch and go. I'd make a sleazy joke about your bedside manner, but it would be a little redundant at this point. I snuggle back down under my blanket. Can you even imagine my bedside manner? I'd be the worst. I'd scare people into health. Is that why you didn't want to be a doctor? Because you hate people? It didn't work out. His voice gets hard. Was there anything you enjoyed about it? I enjoyed most of it. I was good at the theory component. I've got a good memory. And I don't hate all people, just most people. And what about the practical component? Did you have a bad experience? Did they make you put your finger up someone's butt? He laughs, even as his nose wrinkles in distaste. You don't start on live people. And you don't start on butts. What kind of mind thinks of that? Cadavers. I bet you saw cadavers. What was it like? I think of all the autopsy scenes in Law and Order. This one time, my dad, he hesitates, looking away, considering. I don't push him, and after a long silence, he continues. My dad, in his wisdom, decided to set me up on a bit of informal work experience at his hospital. In the break before I started college. Some of it was okay. Mainly I was passed around by a few doctors who all seemed too exhausted to say no to him. But one afternoon he slaps me on the back, introduces one of the coroners, and leaves us to it. I am starting to feel terrible. You don't have to tell me if it's hard. No, it's okay. I guess it was the ultimate baptism of fire. I made it through about 5 minutes before I threw up. The smell of dead person and chemicals. It left a taste in my mouth. Probably why I started eating all these mints. Sometimes I can't get the smell out of my nose, and it's been years. He lifts my arm and presses my wrist to his nose. Your skin smells like candy. Up until that point, it was a given I'd study medicine. My great-great-grandfather was a doctor, and it's always been the Templeman chosen vocation. But after seeing someone's rib cage get jacked open, it was the beginning of the end. You managed to stay for the rest of the autopsy? I managed to stay for another year, and then I quit. He looks distressed by the memory and defaults to defensiveness. So you come over to grill me on my life choices? I catch his fingertips and hold his hand between mine. I didn't want to be anywhere else tonight. I was crawling out of my skin. I'm proud I had the courage to say it. He turns back to me, and the expression in his eyes is softer. My leg was jiggling like this. I demonstrate, and he grins. You should have seen me driving here. I was laughing like I'd broken out of prison. I was completely deranged. Do you think you finally cracked your sanity? For sure. The weird need to stare at your pretty face completely overwhelmed me. I had the energy of 20 atom bombs. Why do you think I go to the gym so much? A big bubble of happiness fills me. I struggle upright and lean against him, my head falling easily into the perfect cradle of his neck. It's true. He fits me everywhere. You never have to explain your choices. Not to me, not to anyone. He nods slowly, and I cover him in the blanket too. I could never have imagined one day I'd be sitting on a couch, my mouth tasting like vanilla, with my head on Joshua Templeman's shoulder. It's going to end in disaster. I close my eyes and breathe. I want to know why you were so sad today, Shortcake. It's uncanny how he senses shifts in my mood. I just was. I was thinking about everything at stake for me. Tell me. I can't. You're my nemesis. You're awfully snuggly with your nemesis. It's true. I'm snuggling. I don't want to talk about me. We never talk about you. I probably don't know anything about you. He laces his fingers into mine and rests our hands on his stomach. I move my fingertips in tiny circles, and he sighs indulgently. Sure you do. Go on, list everything. I know surface things, the color of your shirts, your lovely blue eyes, you live on mints and make me look like a pig in comparison. You scare 3/4 of B&G employees absolutely senseless, but only because the other quarter haven't met you yet. He smirks. Such a bunch of delicate sissies. I keep ticking things off. You've got a pencil you use for secret purposes I think relate to me. You dry clean on alternate Fridays. The projector in the boardroom strains your eyes and gives you headaches. You're good at using silence to scare the shit out of people. It's your go-to strategy in meetings. You sit there and stare with your laser eyes until your opponent crumbles. He remains silent. Oh, and you're secretly a decent human being. You definitely know more about me than anyone else. I can feel a tension in him. When I look at his face, he looks shaken. My stalking has scared the ever-loving shit out of him. Unfortunately, the next thing I say sounds deranged. I want to know what's going on in your brain. I want to juice your head like a lemon. Why do you even want to know anything about me? I thought I was going to be your one glorious bout of hate sex to cross off your list before you settle down with some Mr. Nice Guy. I want to know what sort of person I'll be using and objectifying. What's your favorite food? Vanilla ice cream. Eaten from your bowl with your spoon. And strawberries. Dream vacation destination? Sky Diamond strawberries. When I level a frustrated look at him, he relents and points at the frame on his wall. That exact Tuscan villa. I want to climb inside that painting. What would you do there? Swim in a pool with a tile mosaic on the bottom? He smiles at how much that image delights me. Does the pool have a fountain somewhere? Like a little lion spitting water? Yes, it does. After the swim, I lie in the shade eating grapes and cheese. Then I'd have a big glass of wine and fall asleep with a book on my face. Basically, you've just described heaven. What happens then? I forgot to mention that a beautiful girl swam in that pool with me and slept in that sun too. She's starving. I'd better take her out for pasta. Carbohydrates and oil covered in cheese. I'm enjoying this food fantasy. I manage. I want to be that girl so badly I could howl. We'd walk back to the villa in the dark, and I'd pull down the zip of her red dress. I'd feed her champagne and strawberries in bed to keep her strength up. How are you coming up with this stuff? I'm so enraptured, I'm almost slurring. If this is what his holiday daydream is like, I wouldn't survive his bedroom. Then I'd wake up and do it all again the next day. With her. for weeks. I stare at the painting and imagine standing with him under the glittering dark purple sky, the headlights of faraway cars illuminating the rows of poplar trees lining the road. I have to say something, anything. He's looking at me, clearly entertained. Lucky bitch. He laughs out loud at that. I fire off my next quiz question. You're shipwrecked onto an uninhabited island. What 3 things would you take with you? A knife? A tarpaulin? He thinks for a long time on the last item. And you. To annoy you, he amends. I'm not an object. I don't count. But I'd be so lonely on the island, he points out. I think of him sitting alone in the all-staff meeting. Okay, so we're crawling up the beach, and I'm cursing your name for pulling me away from civilization and hair care products and lipstick. What then? My shiver from the movement of his lips on my earlobe shakes the couch. When I feel the press of his mouth to my throat, I groan out loud. He turns the TV off, and for a moment, I'm certain he's about to walk me out. Or pick me up and throw me on his bed. It's hard to tell. He raises his hands into my hair, softly trailing his fingertips through it, until he reaches my scalp. My eyelids flutter. I'd build you a shelter and find you a coconut, and then we'd pass the time. How? My voice is barely more than a whisper. Probably like this. He presses his mouth to mine. Chapter 17. We both suck in a breath, and the room has no oxygen left. Last night, he picked me up under a streetlight and gave me a kiss that was calculated to leave me wanting more. Now I know what my problem has been today. I've been craving. Images of us in another life in Tuscany are still behind my eyelids as he kisses my mouth open, touches my tongue with his, and breathes. He sighs. He's wanted this. He's been craving as badly as I have. My mouth is vanilla, his is mint, and they combine to create something delicious. A miracle has occurred, and I don't know when, but I know it now. Joshua Templeman does not hate me. Not a bit. There's no way he could when he kisses me like this. He loosens one hand from my hair and spreads it across my jaw, stroking my skin, cupping and tilting my face. It's so completely sweet, even as our tongues begin to get filthy. I slide my knee over his lap, feeling my inner thighs stretch. I swore to myself I wouldn't come here tonight. Yet here you are. Interesting. We both look down at my thighs on his, and I can't stop myself from sliding my hips forward. This new position splices power and adrenaline into my blood. I put my hands on his collarbones and look him over. His hair is still a little damp. I cup the nape of his neck in my palm and press my hand against his heart. I start a slow slide down to his chest, ribs, testing the density of flesh. He's so firm I can trace the lines between each muscle, even through a t-shirt. I try to tug up the bottom of the shirt, but it's pinned under my knees. Impatience rips clean through me. I nearly tear his shirt off, but I force my fingers to loosen. He must see this flash of violent cavewoman, because he closes his eyes and his throat hums in a groan. Sometimes you look at me like you're... He forgets what he was saying when I begin to kiss his jaw. His hands lie, palms up on either side of my calves. He's letting me control this, and I like it. I feel him smile when I nibble against his bottom lip. The couch gives softly underneath my knees, and as our clothes begin to make a warm friction, I feel his arousal, hard and blunt, pressing into the back of my thigh. I need it, I tell him, and watch his eyes go viciously black. I take huge handfuls of his clothes, and we kiss again. I roll my hips slowly in his wide lap, and his hands slide down my body in a series of slow, squeezing pauses. Shoulders, underarms, the sides of my breasts. I shiver, and he slides his hands lower. Ribs, the curve of my waist, hips, butt. His hands slide down my thighs, his long fingers dragging down the outer and inner seam of my jeans. He traces his fingers along my calves. When I drop my face to his neck, his hands tighten on my ankles. A little reminder he could take control if he wanted to. I like how little you are. He sure sounds like he likes my body as he takes another slow, stroking tour. As I slide my tongue into his mouth, I begin thinking about a board meeting we'd been in a few weeks back. He'd been sitting by the window, and I remember watching the sun slowly slide along the windowsill, across the floor, across the board table as the afternoon dragged on. He'd been wearing a navy suit I don't see him wear often, and the pale blue shirt. I'd sat there opposite him, watching the way the sun slowly crept up his body like a rising tide. I'd breathed in the scent of the fabric warming on his body. I remember how he'd cut his dark blue eyes to me during the meeting, and it had flustered me, made my stomach twist in half. He'd smirked and resumed his patient staring at the PowerPoint presentation, not taking a single note, whereas my scribbling hand was cramping. Those eyes, flashing to my face, made me jump out of my skin. I hadn't known why. Now I do. I was remembering the board meeting a few weeks back. My head rolls to one side as he kisses under the hinge of my jaw. I have a full body shiver. His hand spreads across my ribs, thumb nudging the underside of my breast. My total focus narrows down to this half-inch of contact. Yes, what about it? I'm not doing so well if you're thinking about it now. He returns his mouth to mine and dials it up a little. It's minutes before I can speak again. Possibly hours. My breath is in little gasping pants, and he bites down gently onto my bottom lip. His thumb slides up, nudges my nipple softly, and continues up to my jaw. I jolt and quiver. I have to explain myself properly. You looked at me and I think I wanted to kiss you. I only just realized. Oh, really? I'm rewarded by his other hand sliding up the back of my top, skin against skin, fingers playing languidly with my bra strap. I was remembering how you gave me this look. Like I was thinking about something dirty? I was. You were wearing your white silk shirt with the pearl buttons, and this soft-looking cardigan for the first half of the meeting. Hair up, red lips. He leans back and trails his fingertips down my throat to the top of my cleavage. His fingertips dip in. I shudder out the only thing I can think of. It's a cashmere cardigan. You like Dr. Josh. I like prissy retro librarian Lucy. Silk cashmere Lucy. That's my kink. A pencil in your hair, grilling a department head on absentee stats for last quarter. He continues his slide down my torso, fingers pressing into my ribs. What a specific kink. I can't believe you can remember what I was wearing. But hey, I can roll with this. I could get some nerd glasses and scold you. I frown sternly and hold my finger to my lips. Be quiet. He groans theatrically. I couldn't take it. Can you even imagine how it would be between you and me? All day, every night? He knows exactly what I mean. Oh yeah. Like you said just before, the trick is to find someone who's strong enough to take it. The one person who can give it back as good as they get. Can you? His eyes look like he's on drugs. Pupils inked, irises hazy. Yeah. We kiss with a new intensity, sparked by our shared boardroom fantasies. Lucy and Josh starring in graphic, sweat-slicked pornography. He arches against me. His heart-on is pressing so hard against the back of my leg, my hamstring feels bruised. He breaks the kiss. Slow up. I want to ask you something. He sits back a little, and we stare into each other's black eyes. His mouth is softened, pink, and I want it all over me. Licking and biting mouthfuls of my flesh. My breathing is so loud that I almost can't hear what he says next. When you called me tonight, did you nearly call Danny instead? I start to protest, but he smooths his hand down my arm. I'm not being a jealous psycho. I'm just interested. You already won that competition with him. He's my friend now. We are only going to be friends. You haven't answered, though. He's the sensible option. I'm not doing many sensible things with my evenings these days. I'm glad I didn't call him. I'd probably be sitting in a movie instead of here. I bounce a little on his lap. Josh tries to smile, but it doesn't quite work. I'd go to a movie with you. Look, it's getting late. His hands slide down my back to grip my butt. He tilts me and drags me down the hardness of his arousal. Then he lifts me off and sets me aside. He sits forward on the edge of the couch and puts his face in his hands. He's breathing as heavily as I am. It does my ego no harm. Fuck. He sighs it. I am so turned on, he says with an embarrassed half-laugh, and I completely understand his desperation. He's surely got to be wondering why he's subjecting himself to this. He's an adult man, reduced to teenage makeout sessions with his weird colleague. Do you want to hear how turned on I am? I'd better not, he manages. I guess I should go home. I pray he tells me to stay. He doesn't. He talks through his hands. Give me a minute. I take our mugs and my bowl into the kitchen and rinse the bowl. I look at the frying pan and put it in the sink and fill it with hot water and suds. My legs are trembling and doing a poor job of holding me upright. I'll do it, Josh says behind me. Leave it. My eyes badly want to drop below his waist, but because I am a lady, I resist. He feeds my arms into my coat, and we both put our shoes on. We carefully stand on the opposite ends of the elevator, but we stare at each other like we're 1 second away from slamming the elevator to an emergency stop to put ourselves out of our misery. I feel like your Easter egg. He catches my hand at the curb and walks across the street with me. When we reach my car, I tilt my mouth up to his. He carefully takes my face in his hands and he kisses me. A simultaneous, shocked gasp rocks us. It's like we haven't kissed in an eternity. He presses me against the car door and I whimper. Tongues, teeth, breath. You taste like my Easter egg. Please, please, I need you so badly. I'll see you at work tomorrow, he replies. He turns me in his arms and presses his mouth against the back of my neck. Even through my hair, the heat of his breath makes me inhale so hard it's more of a snort. Is this an asshole control freak thing? I wriggle free. Possibly. Sounds consistent with my character. I have a thought. Are you planning on sexing me comatose on the morning of the interview so you beat me? Josh puts his hands in his pockets. It's worked for every other promotion I've gotten in my life. Why stop now? You want to make sure I'm all over you like a rash at the wedding. Something about the look on his face makes me step back and press my back to the cold door of my car. You haven't lied and told them all about the brain surgeon you're betrothed to? He smiles. Dr. Lucy Hutton, M.D. She's brilliant, yet unorthodox. I'm serious. Answer the question. I'm coming as me, aren't I? I'm not supposed to be acting. No. I bite my thumb and look down the street. Why do I feel like he's lying? Well, I'm beginning to think you're leaving me horny to make sure I'll keep coming back here. I'm like a cat. You're leaving out a saucer of cream. Josh laughs, a big proper laugh like I'm hilarious. Delighted, irritated electricity floods me. I'm crackling with it. In this moment, I'm more alive than I've ever been. Fight with me, kiss me, laugh at me. Tell me if you're sad, don't make me go home. We'll have to see if it's true. If you're back tomorrow night, I'll concede it's part of a deliberate strategy. He looks down at me with undisguised pleasure. The thought of returning didn't properly occur to me. The following day now glows with promise. One more. He kisses my cheek and I groan in misery. Get out of here, shortcake. And remember, I don't want to see you freaking out tomorrow. I can't get my seatbelt on properly. I'm so wired, it's like I'm having drug withdrawals. He taps my window to make me lock the door. I'm halfway home when a scary thought crystallizes. I can't wait for work tomorrow. Today, his shirt is the color of a saucer of cream. Act natural, Lucy. Walk in there like sex on legs. No awkwardness. Go. He looks at me. My ankle wobbles and I drop my handbag. The lid of my lunchbox pops off and a tomato rolls across the floor. I drop to my hands and knees and my stiletto heel gets caught on the dangling buckle belt of my coat. Crap. I try to crawl. Smooth. Josh gets up and walks to me. Shut up. He unhooks my coat and gathers up my lunch before holding a hand down to me. I hesitate minutely before I take it, letting him haul me up. Can I rewind my entrance? He pulls the coat from my shoulders and hangs it up for me. Mr. Bexley's door is open and the lights are on. Elaine's a late starter. She's probably still in bed. How was your evening, Lucinda? You look tired. My stomach sinks in dismay at his impersonal tone until I look at his face and realize his eyes are lit with mischief. If Mr. Bexley is eavesdropping, he'll hear nothing out of the ordinary. This is a dangerous new game, the act natural game, but I'll give it a try. Oh, it was nice enough, I guess. Nice. Get up to anything interesting? He's got the pencil in his hand. I sat on the couch. He shifts in his chair and I look at his lap. Serial killer eyes. I mouth at him. I sit on the edge of my desk, take out my tube of flamethrower, and begin to apply, using the wall nearest me as a mirror. He looks at my legs with such naked lust, I nearly smudge it. And what did you get up to, Josh? I had a date. At least, I think it was. What's she like? Clingy. She really threw herself at me. I laugh. Clingy is not an attractive trait. I hope you kicked her out. I guess I sort of did. That'll learn her. I begin to gather my hair into a high bun before smoothing down my dress. It's a fine cream wool knit, stretchy and warm, and I admit I wore it to match his shirt. He likes Prissy Librarian Lucy? He's got it today. He watches my hands. I watch his. They're white-knuckled. Not sure if I'll see her again, though. He sounds bored, and he's clicking his mouse on his computer. When his eyes cut sideways to mine, I flash to last night, and my insides clench. Maybe take her to your brother's wedding. Always gratifying to walk into one of those situations with a hot date. We both look at each other, and I ease myself slowly into my chair. The staring game has never felt so dirty. The phone rings. I look at the caller ID and the word, fuck, lights up in neon in my brain. Josh takes one look at my face. If it's him, I'm going to. It's Julie. A bit early for her, isn't it? You're going to have to be firm with her. The phone continues ringing and ringing. I'll let it go to voicemail. I'm too tired to deal with this now. You will not? He dials *9 and answers my extension. They teach call center operators to smile when they answer a call. People can hear a smile in your voice. Joshua needs to learn this. Lucinda Hutton's phone. Joshua speaking. Hold. He hits a button and points at me with his receiver. Do it. I'm watching you. We both watch the hold light flashing. I'm still that smiling girl in the strawberry patch. Look at me. I'm a good girl. I'm this sweet little thing adored by everyone. Nothing is too much trouble. I want to see you be as strong with other people as you are with me. I press the flashing button. Hi, Julie. How are you? My ear nearly burns from her deep sigh. Hi, Lucy. I'm not well. I'm incredibly tired. I don't even know why I came in. I've just sat down and already the screen is killing me. Sorry to hear that. I lock eyes with Josh. He intensifies his eyes into narrowed, scary blue lasers. He's imbuing me with his powers. I am not going to care what excuses or requests she's going to make. What can I do for you today, Julie? Professional, but a hint of warmth in my tone. I'm supposed to be working on this thing for Alan, which she's going to polish up and send to you. Oh yes, I need it by close of business. Josh gives me a sarcastic thumbs up. Well, I'm having a bit of trouble finding some of the old reports in the network drive. It keeps saying shortcut moved. Anyway, I've tried a bunch of things and I think I need to step away, you know? As long as I get it by 5, it's fine. Josh looks at the ceiling and shrugs. I thought I was being firm there, but he's unimpressed. I was hoping to go home and get it done first thing tomorrow when I'm fresher. Didn't you just get here? Am I going crazy? I recheck the clock. I came in quickly to check my email. Her tone is that of an absolute trooper. Alan said it would be okay if I cleared it with you first. She's jingling her car keys in the background. I steel myself with blue laser strength. I'm sorry. That's not going to work for me. I need it by 5, please. I'm aware of the deadline, she counters, voice sharpening by 1 degree. I'm trying to let you know Alan is not going to have it to you on time. But it's really you who needs the extension, not Alan. There's a long pause while I wait for her to speak. I thought you'd be a bit more flexible on this. Her tone is slipping further into an impressive combination of petulance and ice. I am unwell. If you do need to go home... I begin as I watch Joshua's brow transform into a scowl. You'll need to take today as sick leave and bring a doctor's note. I'm not going to the doctor for tiredness and a headache. He'll tell me to sleep. That's what I want to go and do. I'm sympathetic if you're feeling unwell, but that's the HR policy. Josh smooths his hand over his mouth to hide his grin. I'm playing the HR game with Julie. Sympathetic? I wouldn't call this sympathetic at all. I've been fair with you, Julie. I've given you extensions a lot of times, but I can't keep staying late to finish these reports. Josh circles his hand in the air. I keep going. If it's late, I end up having to stay back. You don't have any family here or a boyfriend, do you? Late nights don't affect you like they do for people with husbands and, well, people with families. Well, I'm not going to get myself a husband or a life if I keep staying until 9 o'clock at night now, am I? I'll expect the report from Alan at 5. You've spent too much time in the company of that horrible Joshua. Apparently so. Also, I can't do the internship for your niece. It's not convenient for me. I terminate the call. Joshua lies back in his chair and starts laughing. Well, shit. I was amazing, wasn't I? Did you see me? I punch the air and mime giving Julie an uppercut. Josh rests his folded hands on his stomach and watches me shadowbox my reflection. Take that, Julie, and your life and husband and your phony sleep disorder. Let it all out. Take that, Julie, and your migraines. You really were amazing. Take that, Julie, and your French manicure. Okay. He's smiling at me, openly, in this exact office that was once a battlefield, and I flop back down into my chair and close my eyes and feel the glow of his pleasure from across the marble superhighway. So this is what it feels like. This is what it could have been like all this time. It wasn't too late. No more late nights for me. I probably totally destroyed my relationship with her, but it was so worth it. You'll have a life and a husband in no time. No time at all. Probably by next week. I hope he's super nice. I open my eyes, and the way he looks at me makes me wish I hadn't said it. We both hesitate, and his eyes flick sideways. I've interrupted our flow. Please, let me enjoy this moment. Joshua Templeman is officially my friend. I link my fingers and stretch my arms over my head. I'm going for my breakfast meeting, Josh. I need those figures by lunch, Mr. Bexley says, walking in between us. I think we all know this breakfast meeting is with a plate of bacon. They're already done. I'll email them through now. Mr. Bexley harumphs, I suppose his best attempt at thanks or praise, and then turns to me. Good morning, Lucy. Nice dress you've got on there. Thanks. Ugh. Got your nails sharpened, do you then? Interview's coming soon. Tick-tock. He ambles to the edge of my desk and peruses me from the neck down. I resist the urge to cross my arms over myself. I don't know how Mr. Bexley hasn't noticed Josh's murderous glare refracted dozens of times. He continues his usual gimlet-eyed assessment of my appearance. Don't, Josh says to his boss, voice metallic. I'm pretty well prepared for the interview. I look down at my front. Mr. Bexley, what are you looking at? I calmly level my eyes at Mr. Bexley, and he physically jolts. He quickly averts his eyes and begins to comb his fingers through his sparse hair, his face burnished red. Man, I kick ass today. Josh clenches his jaw and looks down at his glass desk so angrily I'm surprised it doesn't shatter. From the little sneak peek I had in Elaine's office, I do think you're well prepared. Dr. Josh, we may need to discuss strategy. Holy shit. He's going to tell Joshua about my project. I swing my panicked stare to Josh, who looks at his boss like he is an absolute idiot. And then he reminds me that no, he is not my friend, and no matter how much kissing we do on his couch, we're still in the middle of our biggest competition. I'm not going to need any help beating her.